Hi, welcome back to Stickleton, and this is Dawn, otherwise known as being self-sufficient in Wales. I'm just sitting here quietly having 5 minutes, cup of tea. All the animals are fed and bedded down. There's only the chickens and the ducks to shut up for the evening, and I must say I am tired. This time of year it's very long days, and there's such a lot to do, and it's a never-ending list. It just grows and grows and grows. So while I'm having my cup of tea, I'm just putting together my list of jobs that I need to get done in this next coming week. This morning I popped into town, had a bit of business there to do, and while I was there I did take a note of the fuel prices, and the cheapest petrol I saw was £1.59 a litre, and the cheapest diesel was £1.79 a litre. So there's no change there. That 5p reduction that the government gave us has made no difference to the fuel costs at all. While I was in town, I did pop into Lidl's to pick up a couple of bits, and I was just sort of taking a note as I was walking around of things. Cooking oil, there was 2 bottles left on the shelf, 2 1-litre bottles, and that was it. There was all these fancy oils, you know, walnut oil, avocado oil, all that type of stuff, but actual everyday cooking oil, that's all there was 2 bottles. They were very low on eggs as well. What else did I notice? With pasta, I noticed pasta was very low. There was none of the big bags, and there was none of the big bags of rice. It was all small packets, and the pasta and rice, it tended to be the fancy ones, not your everyday stuff. Plenty of fruit and veg. What else was low? I popped in to get the lemon tea and instant lemon tea for Martin, because he quite likes that one, and the peach tea. There was none. They had normal everyday tea, normal everyday coffees, but there was no lemon teas, there was no peach tea. So sorry Martin, you haven't got any of those this week. And yeah, there was sort of some of the, what I would call your sort of like staples. There was plenty of flour. There was plenty of flour there, and there was a few bags of bread flour. There was plenty of bread. I can't think that I sort of looked at anything else really. It's just what I noticed as I was walking around them sections. So yeah, so there's definite shortages there, and I keep hearing from people up and down the country of things they're finding short and empty shelves in their shops and in their areas, and it seems sort of very sporadic as what's around. I know there's interruptions in getting the stocks in the supply chains again, getting the stocks to the shops, because lots of parts of the country are struggling to get fuel because of protesters. I believe they call themselves the Extinction Rebellion or whatever, and they've been protesting outside fuel terminals, which is making it very difficult for some parts of the country to get fuel, and of course all the lorries etc making deliveries can't get it. And even though it's not affecting us here in Wales, further towards the border, I believe Cardiff way, it's starting to have a bit of an effect there, but where I am further over, sort of southwest, we've still plenty of fuel around. But where our yard was in Bedfordshire, East Anglia, Bedfordshire, um, when we were winding down the business, so like in the last week of it, that's when all this sort of started, and we couldn't get fuel for the lorries. And we're still waiting. Martin's still hoping to bring one of the lorries up here fully loaded with stuff. He's been unable to bring it back yet because we can't get any fuel for it. And I don't. Today's Thursday, and it's is it 20 something or I don't know. But Thursdays is when Martin goes off and does his inspections. We've still got a few jobs that he's tied to do inspections on. So he sort of goes on his route, and it's sort of Bedfordshire, Kent way and everything. And so he's out there at the moment, heading home tonight. He's only gone for the day. He'll be back later on this evening. And I know he was hoping to bring, if he can get the fuel, bring this lorry up with the rest of the stuff on from the business. But I haven't heard from him yet. I won't. You know, we're not the sort of couple where we're texting each other every 5 minutes or anything like that. And in fact, couples like that, I don't know what they sit and talk about in the evenings, because surely you've talked about everything during the day. Anyway, I'm digressing a bit there. So Thursdays is when Martin's away during the day. And yeah, so he might not be bringing the lorry back tonight. I don't know yet. So yeah, there is lots of things all adding up and affecting food supply chains, etc. And on the subject of eggs, that's all part of this bird flu thing. You know, we've had this bird flu since, when did it start? Was it end of October, November last year? And lots of the commercial egg producers and meat producers, of course, their birds have been in lockdown. A lot of them have lost a lot of their flocks because of the bird flu. We've got plenty of eggs here. It doesn't, you know, things like that don't have a personal knock-on effect to us, because we have our own chickens and ducks, and we raise our own meat. I'm trying to think, did I look at the meat? The meats, there wasn't a vast amount of what I saw of fresh meat in Lidl's, and their freezers are very, very empty. They've been very empty for a long, long time, with not a lot of stock in there. So anyway, that was just my experience of Lidl's and what I noted, made a mental note of as I was going round. So there are shortages out there, and even though there's a lot of people out there still denying it, I've heard of people having trouble getting hold of fresh tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, that type of thing. And somebody did post on one of the groups a notification from, what's it called? Fast food place, burger place, McDonald's, I think it might have been, saying that they've reduced the amount of tomato slices in their burgers now because they're having trouble getting hold of them. How true that is, I don't know. So it's, yeah, there is food shortages out there. What there is there has gone up again in price, and it's continuing to go up. So we have to, you know, there's no point in protesting about it. It's not going to do anything. And there's no one person to blame. Supply chains, a lot of that, it's never really recovered from the COVID times. And I know there's lots of farmers out there saying milk has to go up in price, and I believe a lot of places have already put it up in price. Eggs have to go up in price, and that's all because of animal feed and the running costs of fuel, electricity and gas price rises. Every little thing like that has a knock-on effect as to what we pay as a consumer at the end. And we've had the cheap food for so long, we've been spoiled by it, and now people have to start paying a proper price for it. I'm not going to go on about food because there's a, you know, I've said my bit about it before, and I think everybody has to start doing their bit. And where you can grow to help supplement your meals, or if you've got the space, you know, you can grow a vast amount of your meals. So, like I was saying, I am tired. It's been a long day. It's now, what is it now? 7:30. I think it's about 7:30 in the evening. We don't have any clocks in this room, so I couldn't tell you what the time is, but I think it's about 7:30. And my day sort of starts at about 5:30, and of course it starts with animal feeds. We're back milking the goats now. Milking the goats is my department. Martin doesn't enjoy doing it, and the goats know that he doesn't enjoy doing it, and they're very reluctant to give him milk. So that has been my job for the past few years now, doing the milking. And then, of course, after that, you know, it was popping into town, and then it's sort of seeing to the polytunnels, and it's just generally a busy time of year. So my list for this up and coming week, while I've been sitting here having my cup of tea, jotting down some notes of what I've got to get done. On my canning list, I've got carrots, beetroot, potatoes, coleslaw mix and rice, so I need to get those all canned. The beetroot has got to be done, and the carrots have got to be done because I've got to clear out the ground, and I've got some potatoes there which have got to be done as well. Oh. And then I've still got some seeds to sow to get started. Sweet corn. I want to do some trays of rice this year to have a go at doing that. Then I've got sugar beet and field peas to get sowed in the area that we've been preparing, part of one of the fields. And then there's all the planting up, and I'm hoping this weekend rolling into next week to start getting a lot of the planting out done of plants that have been raised. I've been hardening off, taking all the trays out in the morning, bringing them all back in again in the evening. I'm now at the stage where the trays of young plants are sitting out there in the polytunnel, but they're all got fleece protection on them overnight. So next week, I'm off starting this weekend, I think, running into next week, I want to get planted the tomatoes, cucumber, okra, peppers, squash, pumpkins. Squash and pumpkins I might hold off a bit, and the courgettes because they need to go outside. I've got more peas to get planted. I've got trays of brassicas there waiting to be planted out, and I've got a big tray of young sunflowers to be planted out. The sunflowers, the field peas and the sugar beet are all part of the animal fodder that I'm going to be doing. And then I've got to, what am I doing? Oh yeah, I've got to make up small livestock wormer. That might be tomorrow's job actually, or the day after. I'm starting to collect, as it's growing, starting to collect lots of forage in now for the goats and getting it dried. And this is part of preparing for winter. Oh, I was going to sneeze then. This is part of preparing for winter. Getting the forage in, getting it dried, getting it chopped up and storing it to add to their feed, supplement their feed over winter. And I'm wanting to upscale on that this year because of the way animal feed is going. So it's a daily job I've set myself to collect in some of the forage. Some they're getting fresh. I take them out a bowl of forage in the evenings when I collect their buckets in. So they've got a big bowl of fresh forage that I've collected them. For the 2 mamas, that is. And oh dear, sorry, I just can't stop yawning, I am tired. And then some of it I'm drying off, and yeah, and that's been sort of put by for winter. And of course there's weeding to be done. The grass, we've got to start cutting the grass. And when we start cutting the grass from around the gardens, etc., I'm going to be baling it up again as small mini bales of silage, which again we will add to the winter feeds. And let me just, what else does that say? Oh yes, I need to top up all the bark in the growing areas. Where we've been cutting trees down, we've been keeping back all the brush from it, and it's all being chipped up, and I've been having it chipped up into ton bags, which will be brought up to the polytunnel areas, and it will all go on all the paths, etc., to try and help keep the weeds down. Yeah, so that's about it really. That's just all the extra chores to do on top of all the normal everyday ones, but it's all part of keeping busy and making the best of the situation we're heading into, and preparing for winter, even though it's only spring, but preparing for winter 2022 into 2023 is a big part of it. And the food that's being put by now for the animals and for ourselves is all part of that big picture. We're always working ahead. Like with milking the goats, I only milk April up until mid-April until about mid-October, maybe end of September, when the billy will go back in October, and I usually stop milking before the billy goes back in. But all the extra milk that we might only go through about 2 pints of milk a day, and we'll take anything between 4 or 5 pints a day from the goats. So the surplus milk goes into storage for us to use during all of them months when we're not milking. And in fact, we started milking this weekend just gone. I did put a video up about that. And I had literally, day before we started milking, I took the last of the milk out the freezer from last year. So that was timed quite good. So even though milk's gone up in price, we're not buying in milk or cheese or yogurts or anything like that. We do our own. We're not buying in eggs. So none of that affects us. Cooking oil, I have got a good stock of cooking oil, and we will have pigs later on this year, autumn, so we will have the lard off the pigs as well. Yeah, so it's really is, it's just never ending. And all those who, I'm not criticising anybody here personally, because I know everybody's lives are different and not everybody chooses to live the life we live. But when I think back to how our life used to be before we moved here 8 years ago, and I could spend my evenings sitting there watching TV, or we'd occasionally go out with friends. Whereas now the life we have is completely different. You know, we're both usually in bed by 10:30 at night because our day does start early. And at the end of the day, we are both tired, and some evenings we're not even getting to eat until 9 o'clock. And having Martin home these extra days each week means I really have to start meal planning. I have to start planning our meals out properly, because usually on the days that he's not here, I would just tend to snack rather than cook myself a meal. And of course, I've got him here at lunchtimes as well. So I'm back to doing, as we've got an egg glut on, I'm back to doing frittatas for lunch, or we might have sausage rolls there, or pasties, or we've got some cooked chicken and cooked meats in the freezer, so it'll be doing sandwiches. Martin, don't get the wrong impression here, Martin is quite happy to cook, and he'll very often help me out in the evening cooking a meal, or he will be cooking the meal. It's not all left to me, but he does work extremely hard during the day, doing very physical stuff here around the small holding as well as with the scaffolding. So I'm quite happy to throw us together some lunches so that he doesn't, because if I don't, he will be the sort of person to just grab a bag of crisps, or just grab this or grab that, and I would rather see that he's fed properly. And yeah, so frittatas, soups, sandwiches, whatever, I'm trying to get all these made up, and keep him and myself fed properly, throughout this busy time of the year. And we have to make the most of these long days, and especially the good weather. And talking of good weather, our other issue at the moment is water. We haven't had any. We've had a couple of showers, but we haven't had any decent rain for, it must be at least a month. Our IBC tanks are all virtually empty, and the IBC tanks is what we use for watering the polytunnels and keeping the livestock watered. So we just do rainwater harvesting, and that's for sort of everything outside, and that keeps our water bill down. Our water bill is approximately £7 a month. We are on a meter, so the less we use mains water, the better. We don't have a sewage charge because we're on a septic tank, so £7 a month is our water bill. But if we have to start filling up the animal tanks from the mains water, the buffalo will go through, let's see, each tank holds about 1,000 litres, and that will, if it's a hot day, that will last the buffalo 2 days. And we've got two different groups of buffalo, so that would be roughly 1,000 litres a day of water we'd be going through just for them. So, and speaking of buffalo, we've now got them out in the fields, so that makes life a little bit easier. And the next job for Martin, of course, is clearing out the winter housing. We've got all the fields harrowed, so we're up to date with that. We've got lots of logs there which need to be all split, and it's mainly ash, so it doesn't need seasoning, and that's all got to get put into the log store. And then all the wood that we've got that needs to be seasoned, we've still got about 15 trees which came down during the winter storms that haven't been dealt with yet, so they've got to be dealt with, and then they've got to be put by to be seasoned. So yeah, there's an awful lot going on, but feeling tired at the end of the day. It's a good tired, and it's a good tired knowing that you're getting your house in order. And I think at the moment, with these unprecedented times of everything that's going on, we all need to be getting our house in order, and we should all be at least trying to achieve something every day along them lines, whether it's just buying a couple of extra tins of something and putting it away, or it's turning off lights unnecessarily to cut back on your power usage, dropping the temperature on the washing machine, getting the clothes out on the line to dry. If that means you've got to get up, you know, if you're going to work, you know, and you've got to get up an hour earlier in the morning, or you do your washing the night before and you get up that 15 minutes earlier in the morning so you get the washing out on the line to dry instead of putting it in the tumble dryer. All these things make a difference, and it's all the little things when you add them all up, you know, they do make a difference in the long run, and that's what we've all got to start doing. We've all got to start looking around to see where we can cut back and what we can do. You know, stop leaving things on standby. Heating doesn't, well, we haven't got any heating on at the moment, you know, but I know of some people who like to keep their house at an ambient temperature of 20 degrees centigrade, which I find extremely hot and stuffy, and I don't think it's all healthy for you. And then they're complaining about their energy costs. Well, you can't have it both ways. You know, there was an article, was it last week, I think, of a woman who was complaining that her electricity bill had shot up to £470. I like to think it was for a month, but I seem to think the article said it was for a couple of weeks. And this was because she runs a hot tub, and you know, it's the temperature's going all the time, and we'd just come through a cold spell, and she was complaining about the cost of running the hot tub. Well, if you want luxury items like that, you better have the purse available to pay for them. Anyway, that's down to her. That's her problem. That's not my problem. You know, there's a lot more worse things going on in the world, and if you can't live without your hot tub, then you really need to, I think, sit back and take a long hard look at your life. Yeah, so I hope everybody's keeping busy, everybody's doing something, everybody's paying attention to what's going on in their own areas, because even though the UK is such a small place, it can vary from what's happening here in Wales to what's happening over in East Anglia or Sussex or up in Scotland or Yorkshire or Lancashire, you know, anywhere. It varies considerably, and costs can vary considerably as well. So it would be nice to know what you're all finding short, what's becoming harder to find in the shops. I know there's been lots of silly things being substituted in online orders. We don't order online, you know, we buy in very, very little shopping. But I'm trying to think, what did I buy in Lidl's today? I must have bought something. There was only a couple of things, I know that, because I didn't even have a shopping bag. I can't even think now for the life of me what it was that I bought. But there we go. So, and the other thing to keep in mind when you're doing your shopping, it's not just your food, but you want to make sure your medical supplies are all up to date. You've got plenty of first aid things, plenty of over-the-counter medicines. What's happening in Shanghai will have a big interruption on the food supply, on the supply chain of all them types of things. A lot of it is manufactured over there, and if you don't know what's happening in Shanghai, then I suggest you do a search, do your own research on that. Yeah, so keeping them types of things, make sure you've got plenty in stock, and plenty things that you need DIY around the house, batteries and light bulbs, spares for things, because I do believe that all that type of thing will become harder to find. Anyway, I'm going to wind up there because the sun is now starting to set, so I'm going to go and shut the chickens up before Mr. Fox comes out, and then I'm going to put together a sandwich. And there's a program I've been following on TV all week. I don't know if anybody else has been watching it. The man, his wife, no, the thief, his wife, and the canoe. It's a true story, and it's about a big fraud that took place in the UK, the early part of 2000, and they turned it into a drama, and it's been running for 4 nights this week, and the last part was last night. I did sit and watch it, but tonight is a documentary following on from that, so I'd like to catch up on that in a little while. So take care, everybody, and anybody who has been watching it, I hope you've been enjoying it as much as what we have, and I will speak to you all again soon.